Good morning. Good morning. You know, when I got here, and Nelson, thank you for the wonderful pickup at the airport, and Eric said, welcome home. And I really feel that way. I celebrated my, I know this isn't all about me, but I did celebrate my 25th anniversary at CAR in February. So, yeah. So anyway, we all go back a long time, and I don't know what to say. Let me just get started. The great news is you guys are booming. Markets do clear. Your market is clearing, but there's a lot going on, and I'm sure a lot of your clients are asking questions. So I kind of want to give our take, our analysis on the market at CAR, and also make you aware of a lot of the resources we have to help you. So anyway, let me kind of get started with just a couple of jokes. The thing that's kind of interesting about this cartoon, he's saying down, I thought it only went up, new to the stock market, are you? Is this actually was in the newspaper the summer of 2000. So after the tech stock debacle, we had that. And then here we have this poor taxpayer in search of the TARP funds, this $700 billion that was approved in order to take the toxic assets off the balance sheets of the banks, and it somehow ended up in a lot of the Wall Street firms. And here's Obama, who came into just a firestorm with all these the economy, the Mideast, lots going on. And here's my favorite: don't jump, wait and see what Alan Greenspan has to say. I am Alan Greenspan. And I really do feel a little sorry for this guy. He writes his memoir, he goes on a book tour, and the entire financial system collapses, and our banks are nationalized under a Republican administration. Not quite, but almost. So interesting times. So the next 10 to 15 slides are just, kind of macroeconomic indicators, and unfortunately, they're kind of all pointing down. We had the revised GDP numbers for the fourth quarter of 2008, and we're down a little bit over 6%. Even the more optimistic analysts are suggesting that we won't see positive GDP until the fourth quarter, and no one is really able to articulate, in my view, in a meaningful way, how that's supposed to happen. They're kind of like generalized feelings like, well, this $8 a week tax break, 16 if you're a married couple, all the stimulus, the government spending, that's going to kind of take hold and turn things around. And yet you kind of look at the news every day thinking, okay, when is that tipping point going to be reached? In general, I would say that 2009 is, in all accounts, going to be a really tough year economically. The economy is struggling. The job losses are accelerating, and typically jobs are a lagging indicator. They're kind of late to the party, but it's just going to be a tough year. And the main component of this is really consumer spending. Consumer spending is about 72% of our economic activity, and this kind of breaks out the components of economic growth. So even though consumption has contracted in the last year over year and quarter over quarter, less than 5%, when it's 62% of the total, that really is the drag on the economy. One of the other challenges right now is that in past cycles, because the global economy hasn't been so moving together, we've been able to look at, okay, well, our trading partners are going to buy more of our stuff, and that's going to help. But actually, that's really hurting this time. In fact, it's really a global slowdown, if you will. Consumer confidence reached an all-time low in December. That was superseded by an all-time low in January, and the data that came out for February shows an equally kind of dire outlook on the part of consumers, and it really dovetails into the pullback in consumer spending and the fact that the savings rate is actually up significantly. As everybody's hunkering down, everybody is deleveraging, trying to pay off their credit and get in a more sustainable situation. I just updated this slide on the plane this morning so you could see the what's been going on in the Dow. And what we're doing is correlating the Dow with consumer confidence. And even though, I can't remember what the exact number is, it's like 45% of American households are invested in the market. What the market does is impacting confidence and vice versa. So they really are very closely tied. Here's a look at just personal consumption expenditures. So we've had 6 consecutive months, the entire second half of 2008, you had a very, very bearish consumer, and it played itself out on the housing scene. In 2008, this is just kind of the national number, sales nationally were down about 13%, and the median home price nationally was down about 15%. And what you'll notice as we start talking about California, and specifically as we start talking about Sacramento, is we're doing things very differently. In Sacramento, in January, home sales were up 100% over January of 2008. Fabulous. But the median home price is off 40%, right? So we've got a very different type of market, and this really is one of my key themes of my presentation. You guys are so integral to this process because you hold the key to the local data and the local information, because a national number, a statewide number, a county number is not useful to a client who wants to buy in a particular neighborhood. So all the variety of ways that you have to kind of localize and slice and dice the statistics. I mean, Mike's here, he's got the trend graphics program. Whatever it is, that's fabulous because that's what people are looking for. I mentioned the jobs picture. We're expecting to see the unemployment rate in California above 10% this year. Typically, we're at least a percent to 1.5% higher than what we see nationally. Here's a comparison of the rate of change in employment in California compared to the US. We went down earlier, and when you look at the state as a whole, it was Orange County that first started to show weakness, and this was about 2.5 years ago because of the kind of concentration of developers as well as subprime lenders in those counties. And as they started shutting their doors, you began to see that play out in the unemployment numbers. Here's a look at just the cumulative job loss beginning in 2008 through last month, or through January. So this was really on the minds of Congress when they were looking at this stimulus bill going, oh my gosh, we've got to do something. Here's a look at the cumulative job losses in California, approaching 250,000 net jobs lost. Here's a comparison of by region in California, looking at the end of 08 compared to the end of 07. And statewide, we've got about 257,000 fewer jobs. And as we've noted, this has been accelerating. Here's a look at the Sacramento MSA in December, down about 2.6% compared to January of a year ago. Unemployment rate running about 8.7% in the county, and then kind of the proxy for consumer spending at the county level is taxable sales, and unfortunately it's there with a little bit of a lag, but I think you catch the point. Next couple of slides, industrial production down, capacity utilization, there's a lot of room to grow. Retail sales were down over 10% in December. They actually bounced up a little bit in January, but in general, this is not a good source of growth for us in 09. The CPI is great, but it's reflecting a recession. If you look at just the CPI in December, it was slightly deflationary. If you take out food and energy, and it was really the energy cost, the drop in energy at that time, which seems to be coming back up again, If you take that out, the core rate of inflation at 1.7% hasn't been that low in a long, long time. And what that's meant is the Fed has been able to do whatever it can, and we have a Fed funds rate that's hovering just slightly above zero.